13th, we're at the two-range professional development round and along on Zoom. Can we have a roll call, please?
Audrey Adamson.
Here.
Justin Anderson.
Present.
Sangeeta Rayapani. Here. Kate Schaefer.
Here.
Maria S. Trigueros.
Here.
I think I heard her say
Yeah.
online, yeah. Andrew Wayard.
Here.
Aaron Waldron Smith.
All right, we'll waive any public comment to the next meeting. We'll have approval of the minutes from the committee of the whole for the meeting of May 11th of 2020. Wow.
So moved.
Second.
Can I have a roll call?
Justin Anderson.
Aye.
Kate Schaefer.
Aye.
Maria S. Trigueros.
Aye.
Andrew Wayard.
Aye.
Audrey Adamson.
Aye.
Sangeeta Rayapani. Aye.
All right, and then Mr. Ryerson and Mr. Peterson for the summer program review.
Good evening. Thanks for the opportunity to present this evening. We're going to give you an update on the summer learning program that we offered. It's going to be broken up into three parts. We're going to go through elementary, middle school, and high school. We have two of our awesome teachers here this evening to help present with us, Alexa Harris from Roosevelt and Shirley Smith from Washington. And we also have Leah Peterson and Chris Moore here as well. So,
I'm sorry, Greg, is there a way that that monitor can show us also?
Oh, right.
Otherwise, Rachel and I will need to probably relocate.
got it. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Sorry to interrupt.
No problem.
Okay.
So when COVID hit in March, as all of you know, we were on a stay-at-home order. And so we really wanted to try to be able to come up with a creative way that we could still offer our students some summer school. As you know, in the past, we've worked with our remote sites to provide summer school, such as at the YMCA and Boys and Girls Club. So we decided to take our summer school fully remote. And thanks to our incredible ed tech department and our teachers, we were able to provide 28 days of remote summer school for our elementary students. We had 12 teachers that taught this, and they taught 3 hours each day. The students that we targeted for that were students in grades K through 5 who were already in intervention prior to our shutdown. One big success in all this, we had 174 students sign up for summer remote learning, which was absolutely incredible. The instruction, the teachers worked with students via Google Meets, and they would schedule them either in small group setting or one-to-one. Teachers used electronic text and books and provided intervention strategies based on reading skill or skill deficit area. So continuing with that, as we know, remote learning is not the same as in-person learning and cannot be replaced. So as the summer continued along, we found out and got some guidance that we could also do some in-person learning for our students prior to school starting. So we formed a new Jumpstart program for in-person instruction. We held that in August. It was held from August 3rd to 13th. It was 8 total days, but it was Monday through Thursday, 4 days a week, and we did it for 3 hours. The students we targeted for elementary for that were incoming first, second, and third graders who were below grade level, and each school had at least one classroom of Jumpstart students. No more than 12 students per room, and some of our schools actually had multiple classrooms for Jumpstart. 193 students participated in Jumpstart as well, and the instruction was a mix of online blended learning and in-person instruction. We used our core math and reading programs along with ST Math, Imagine Learning, our RISE framework, And breakfast was provided also each day for students. This was a big collaborative effort to get this going, and I want to give out shout outs to our nurses, to our ed tech department, our teachers, our facilities. There was a lot of planning and prep to go into this program to make sure that, one, our students were safe and our staff was safe. And so we had 5 nurses that were also hired on site to help with temperature screenings and any illnesses that potentially could come up. This was also a great opportunity with us transitioning back into the fall to practice some of those new safety protocols in a smaller scale with those in-person students. So those new safety protocols were also practiced, and it was incredible to see. You can look at the pictures here. Students, when they came in, you know, they would get their hand sanitizer right away. Then they would go to the next station where the nurses and staff would temperature screen them. Then they would grab their lunches and go to their rooms and eat prior to instruction starting. And all that got recorded on paper and documented. So it was really a great opportunity for our staff and principals and teachers to practice these new protocols prior to the start of the school year. I'm going to have Alexa and Shirley come on up, and they're going to talk a little bit about the Jumpstart experience that they had.
Sure. I'm Shirley Smith. I'm from Washington. We had 32 students signed up and 27 actually came. So for most days we had between 22 and 27 students. There were a few parents that decided to drop because they decided they were going to be full remote with their kids. The students were really excited to see the teachers. As teachers, we were able to offer fun learning activities to the students besides just the core curriculum. We could make it fun for them. It was flexible, yet a very constructed format. Individual learning targets were able to be met due to the number of students allotted. And the best part was with all the collaboration we were able to have with colleagues before and during Jumpstart to make sure that the process ran smoothly with the curriculum and social emotional goals.
I'm Alexa Harris, and I'm from Roosevelt. I think the best part about the Jumpstart experience was just seeing those kids come back into school, and they were just so excited. We had one that would run down the hallway every day, and running's not great, but we were so excited that she was so excited that it was great. So she put her little mask on and run down the hall, and she was like, I'm so ready for today. And that was just awesome. So students were able to get into those school routines, kind of what Tom talked about, nice and smoothly. So when they came in that first day of school, they were kind of set and ready to go. Teachers were able to get through that meaningful material for those students to enable them a smooth transition back into the school year, which was nice. I think those students that attended Jumpstart were just ready for that school year to start. They were good examples for the rest of the students. Teachers were able to create individualized and fun instruction, like Shirley was saying, and we had those nice small groups in class, so we were able to get them to become independent really quickly while we would still pull those small groups during that even small group time. The flexible format was also really great for that transition back into the school year for both the students and us as teachers. We were able to get back in there and use each other, because I had another teacher in my building that I was able to bounce ideas off of, and we were able to work together, which was nice to do again. So I think overall it was just a great experience, and I really enjoyed it.
So with any program, we wanted to get some feedback from teachers on how it went. So that we could continue to brainstorm. We looked at what stood out, what went well, what was challenging, and what changes would we recommend. So we always are wanting, with any program, we want to be able to continue to improve and move from good to great. So here are some of the staff survey results that came out. Like Alexa said, the excitement from kids to be back and learning in person, that student engagement, the teachers were prepared and flexible, the small class sizes, being able to hone in just on math and reading. And the big thing is that boost of confidence with our students prior to starting the school. And it was just amazing. It was energizing to go visit the schools and these classrooms to see the energy from the teachers and the students and myself. It was a shot of just energy that we hadn't seen in a long time from the students in person. Some challenges that came up was the time frame to identify and communicate to families. Because we were later in the summer time, teachers were already home and principals were already home, so it was hard to identify those students. Ideally, we would like to identify those students and teachers prior to leaving for the summertime. But the teachers stepped up, the principals stepped up, they helped recruit, but that is something moving forward that we want to be able to do prior to summer break happening. Distribution of breakfast, we want to look at some protocols for that. Some schools had it where the students, after they got their temperature checked, grabbed their breakfast and went right to the room. Others were having them transition to the cafeteria. The custodians were helping out with serving. So we want to try to just streamline that process of breakfast distribution so that we can maximize that instruction time with students when they're there. Changes to the program, they recommend starting the program sooner, recruitment done prior to summer break, and invite more students to participate. That's a big thing that we want to look at. And moving forward, one thing we'd like to be able to do is to expand this to the secondary as well, both the middle school and high school, so that we can offer that jumpstart for those students as well. It's a lot easier to identify and get students at the elementary level where teachers are teaching multiple content areas, where at the high school, you have the content specialist, and when you're trying to fill that 3 hours of time, you really can't just have one content specialist doing that full 3 hours. You have to have a buddy teacher as well. So for that time frame, that's something that we want to hone in for that secondary area so we can work out all those kinks for next year as well. Overall, it was Jumpstart a positive experience for teachers and students, and 100% agreed. For the middle school, we've offered our Lights On for Learning program, enrichment program, both at John Deere and Wilson. So this summer, we also provided this Lights On for Learning in a virtual setting. So we use a program called Edgenuity. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Edgenuity, but Edgenuity is an online platform that offers courses. They're self-paced by the students. There's multiple content areas. So at Wilson, they had 49 students participate in the Edgenuity Summer Enrichment, 3 teachers. It was a 3-week program. They did virtual field trips, as you can read there, like visiting Mars, NASA Live, US Mint. And the courses that students who enrolled in with Edgenuity were financial math, science, earth and space science, and online learning and digital citizenship. At John Deere, same type of format. They used Edgenuity, 37 students, 3 teachers, and the enrichment courses that they offered there were reading, geography, cultures, and different foreign languages. Maybe. And we have Chris here to talk about the high school.
Good evening. Well, the mission, of course, changes at the high school level because our primary concern is credit, is students graduating. And so we have that focus with everything that we offer using our Lights On for Learning grant at the high school. We want to target, of course, those students who are primarily credit deficient. We want to look at students and we want to, of course, take our program and always broaden access to those credits so that we can have, like Dr. Savage says, many pathways to graduation. And we feel like we've made some real inroads to that this year in this program. We had our consumer education, which is an initial credit course that students can pay for to take that. We had 30 students take that and earn their credit. Driver's education, which was, of course, there was some shifting and some challenges with driver's education because we had students who were unable to finish their hours in the spring. And so we had, Principal Sanders was very adept at making a very intricate schedule to address all those students' needs. So we had to shift some of those spring students to summertime driving. Some of those summer students they're finishing their hours in the fall, but we're trying to serve all those for a very important service that the community really appreciates here. One of the things I'm most excited about was our credit recovery. As I've mentioned before, we have shifted our strategy with regards to summer school. Originally, we would have the students take discrete classes, summer school English or summer school math, for a chance for them to earn that credit. What comes with that, however, is that you have to sit for 60 hours. And if you don't sit and finish that 60 hours, you don't get credit for that class. Well, that's a barrier because we have students due to transportation, due to family issues, due to work, due to the fact that they don't like to sit in school, but they know that they understand the material, they can show their proficiency. So what we did is change to a pure credit recovery model, because if a student is recovering credit in a class they've already failed, then they have sat those hours and they've satisfied that hour time already during the school year. So that frees us up to a completely time-shifted strategy for credit recovery. And mentioning Edgenuity, that's what we did this year. One of the things I was excited about is we're comparing a non-COVID summer to the COVID summer where we had complete remote learning. And we had a significant increase. We had 66% of engaged students earn credit as opposed to 57% from the previous summer where we were all in person. This teaches us a couple important lessons. This teaches us that some students need that presence, they need that physical time. Of course, again, nothing replaces in-person teaching. However, by freeing up that hour requirement, we have one student who earned 3-4 semesters of credit because he just spent those hours working at those, and he was able to do it because of our process, literally removed a barrier for that kid, for that student's success. So that's something that as we go on in hopefully non-COVID next summer, we want to keep some kind of blended model where students can come for part of the day. They can come, many students rely on lunches that we offer during summer as well. And so we want to kind of open up a spectrum of time that a student can come and work with a teacher, work remotely, that kind of thing. So we can hit all of these different groups of students that are seeing different kinds of success with our credit recovery. And so that's where we are. I said, I think that's a very encouraging statistic based on the fact that we had in-person, comparing apples and oranges, okay, from in-person to a remote. Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you so much for having me this evening to review our special education extended school year. It was exciting, like Tom was saying, it was a different year, but our teachers, our administrators just embraced it and made the best of it, and it turned out pretty well. So just a reminder, extended school years for our special education students. So there's 3 ways you can qualify through that. It's either recoupment of lost information, severity of disability, or emergent of skills. So of those criterias, as you see, last year we had about 112 students that attended in person. This year we had 97 students that qualified for our ESI program. 54 actually attended this summer. We were pretty pleased with that number, not knowing the severity of the disabilities that actually qualify for ESY, how well that would be received. But a lot of parents really stepped up to the plate and accepted that challenge, and 54 actually came. What I'm most excited about is our average attendance. If you look at last year, our average attendance in person was 83%. Remote this year was 85%. So in my book, that's a win for those 54 students. I just think that is amazing. Last year we had 22 staff members. Of course, this year, because of smaller staff and it being remote, we had 9 staff members, but pretty exciting. Of course, it's pre-K all the way up through 12. So we had to think outside the box. How are we going to reach the students? What we learned during the shutdown was that remote learning did not work for all students. I think that was our biggest takeaway for all students, not just students with special education needs. And so we really had to think outside the box. How are we going to reach those students, especially the students in our ESY program? So what we decided to do, we decided to do weekly packet pickups. So looking at their IEP goals, we designed individual packets for every single one of those 54 students. And we provided packet pickup where the parent would drive and pick up the packets for that week with all paper pencil kind of activities. We provided crayons and scissors and glue and all that kind of fun stuff, as well as some fun treats along the way to keep them encouraged. But we also realized that still did not meet all our parents. So what we did after that is then all the parents that were not able to have transportation to come pick up or for any other reason, then we dropped off the packets to their home. With that, we had a great success. Obviously, we still provided remote learning. Of course, we still did the Google Meets and we still did individual Zoom and calls and all that kind of good stuff. But along with the packet, we had a great success where almost 100%, I think it was like 84% actually was actively learning, which was amazing. So we were really excited about that. And it was great, tell you the truth, it filled our soul when we saw those kids driving up to John Deere, picking up their packets, and they had great big smiles. It was pretty amazing to see those kids picking up their packets every week. I think they enjoyed it. Some even wore costumes. They thought it was like this huge, celebration that we were having. And they got to see a lot of their teachers. Some of their teachers came and helped me deliver those, and they were so excited. But I feel like I can't, standing up here, can't do it justice. I was just the one that was coordinating it. So I asked two teachers, Jean DePorter and Ken Berry, who are life skill teachers for our programs. I asked them if they would just give a little description of how they viewed the ESY. So if you don't mind, I'll just be a couple minutes for them to watch the video.
Hi, my name is Kim Berry, and I'm the middle school life skills teacher at Wilson Middle School.
I'm Jeannie Porter, and I'm the elementary life skills teacher at Hamilton. We're here, and we want to talk to you about ESY. Kim and I were two of the teachers for ESY. We did the, along with another teacher, the preschool through high school life skills students. And as you know, ESY looked a little different this year, just like everything else, but we were able to meet their needs as best we could. We had 25 kids between preschool and the high school, and all 25 students need parental guidance to help them to access their daily activities.
Even though we weren't able to meet in person, we were able to provide learning activities and opportunities for the students to meet their individual goals. We were able to do this through hands-on crafts, different language activities, math lessons, interactive books, and speech. And this is just a few of the things we were able to provide the students.
We were able to do this by providing each of the students with a Bitmoji classroom that we will share with you in a minute, and also providing packet pickups. ESY was 3 weeks long, and so we had 3 different themes. We had picnic, camping, and zoo. Each day that each student had 4 different individual lessons that they were able to access with the help of their parents, and then they had videos to go along with it and how to do each of the activities.
At the end of ESY, we provided a Google form asking for some caregiver feedback regarding packet pickup, the ease of the lessons, and if ESY were to be offered next year virtually or remotely, would they sign up for it? Most caregivers were able to complete the multiple activities every day. The majority, which is a lot of them, found the digital format very easy to access and expressed how much their students and their children really enjoyed the interactive activities. Now we would like to share with you our little introduction video that we made for the parents to introduce our Bitmoji classrooms. We hope you enjoy it. We really enjoyed teaching summer school this year. Thank you.
I did not pay them to say that. They really do. They always step up to ESY services. I think the reason I want to show you the platform, I really want to show you what the teachers are doing that are really putting the planning behind the learning beyond the paper packets.
Welcome to ESY. I am Miss Erin, and I teach the Life Skills Program at Hamilton, and this year I will have all of the pre-K students for ESY. I'm Jeannie Porter, the kids call me Porter, and I am the elementary teacher, life skills teacher at Hamilton, and this year I will have all the elementary life skills kids in grade. Hi, my name is Kim Berry. My kids call me Berry or Mrs. Berry, and I teach life skills at Wilson Middle School. But during summer, I will be teaching the middle school and high school life skills classrooms. Hi there, I'm Jen Sunbrad. Most of my students call me Mrs. S. During the school year, I'm the speech pathologist at Clutter, and for the summer, I'm the speech pathologist for all of the ESY students. So we'd like to welcome you to our platform
So these teachers, how amazing is that? How amazing is that? So each week they would collaborate together. So these are life skills teachers. So every week they would collaborate together. Each one of the teachers would be responsible to create a new platform. It looks similar to that and went right along with the theme, and the parents and the kids just loved it. So kudos to those teachers. And I think when I think about what we've learned from all this, I think we've learned collaboration. We've learned to think outside the box. We've really learned in regards to our technology platform how to reach more students, which it's a win if we have to find a win and all that. So at the end of the day, I guess I just go back to why are we all here? That's why we're here. Both of those students are in life skills program. One was picking up the packet and one was working at home. And let me tell you, they met the goal that we wanted, and it was all due to what they provided remotely in the spring as well as with the ESY program. So that is all I have for ESY. Do you guys have any questions for me in regards to special education?
Are you feeling like you're able to implement some of the similar things now while we have multiple versions of schooling happening at the same time?
Yes, I would totally agree. Kind of off what Tom was saying. I think if anything, the ESY just gave us just another try at that remote learning. We did okay, I would say, in the spring, but boy, did we learn from the spring. And by the time we got to the summer, of course, we have a couple of teachers that are just leaders in that, and they were able to collaborate and really reach out to more students. Actually, Jean DePorter actually met with some of our teachers over the summer, not just life skills, but special education, and was really sharing her platform and some of the resources that she learned. So that was great. That was a big win for us. Yes. Any other questions for ESY? All right, thank you.
So yeah, despite what COVID was able to throw at us, we were able to have successful summer school and enrichment opportunities for our students. And looking at a safety first type of program, one thing that we need to celebrate is none of the students or staff got sick during this time. So we have to remember that as well, which is extremely important. So thank you for letting us present. Do you have any questions for any of us here?
I know you'd mentioned that you wanted to see the summer school numbers go up, I guess, in terms of, and I know that you couldn't capture everybody because of the late time that you could recognize who was needing it, but is there sort of a goal or percentage of that you think, or what is the capacity for our summer school sort of program, or the Jumpstart?
Yeah, for the Jumpstart program, that'll be based on interest from staff. How many staff that can we get to teach Jumpstart, and then working backwards from there. We're going to fill the rooms as much as we can, but getting staffing figured out first, and then being able to work backwards to be able to fill those classrooms.
Okay.
But we definitely would love to expand it heading into next year.
Great, thanks.
Anybody else? Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so we'll move on to the new website update. Mr. Reed.
All right, hello everyone. So just quickly, I want to talk about, I'm sure you've seen the new website, but I wanted to kind of talk about some of the features and how we came about where we are. Last winter, Edleo was our provider, and they've been a great provider for content management systems. They're well priced and their service has been great. So we had every intention to renew with Edleo anyway, but they reached out and said that they have a whole new gallery of templates and offered to do a free redesign for us. So at that point, we brought it up to my supervisor, Dr. Devane, and Candace, and my design team is usually John Sullivan and Greg Green along with Candace. And we all thought that we had the same design for quite a while, and I thought it was a good time to make that refresh. And so we got it in front of cabinet, and they agreed that it was probably time to look at that. And so then we started the process with Edleo. And initially we started off with just kind of talking about some goals, what's wrong with our old design, what do we want out of the new one. And some of the things that we decided internally as our team, we wanted to make sure that we were responsive. Our old site was responsive. When I say responsive, it's to tablets or to different resolutions or to different different laptops or larger resolutions. So it was responsive, but there were some issues with some of the finer layers of the site itself. So we wanted to correct that. We wanted to provide a better snapshot of our district. We wanted to provide more imagery. and we wanted better ties to our social media. So that was kind of our goals. And that's what landed us on this particular template. I think we looked at maybe 50 different templates. And so it was kind of fun to see them all and talk to other schools, but this is the one we landed on because it really kind of provided all of those things for us. So as far as what's changed is obviously the homepage is what's changed the most. I think when you dive into the site, most of the pages look pretty similar to what they were before. The content is certainly there, but the actual landing page, the homepage, is really what kind of stood out to us. We liked the clean banner at the very top. We liked how we had secondary navigation. We just kind of cleaned some of those things up. We liked the way that we can kind of tell our story through About Us. Candace was really fond of the upcoming events because we had 3 buckets and other templates only had 2. So it's nice to be able to show as much as we can. But we also really like the scrolling feature, which makes it very easy, even on a mobile device. If you see it on mobile, it's just a single news, but you can easily click back and forth to left and right. We also had 3 buckets for the recent news, and other templates really didn't have that, as well as the scrolling features. Works the same way on mobile. And we tried it on every mobile device that we could find. This is one of the unique features that I think, again, kind of going back to telling our story as a district, we wanted to make, we like this template because it had this feature. This isn't necessarily customizable for us, so we have to tell Edleo every time we want this to change, but it doesn't cost anything. So if we want to change any of this data, we simply have to submit a service request to Edleo, and they will adjust this. But we got this in front of cabinet, and these are some of the things that they wanted us to display to tell that story. Our mission statement is there. And then this was nice because it's towards the bottom of the webpage. So, I mean, it's nice to have the imagery at the top, and these images do scroll at the very top, which is nice. But it just gives us another opportunity for people that are visiting our website to see more of the district and more of the happenings with this scrolling feature here. And then, of course, at the very bottom, we have our live feeds to social media. And clicking on each one will take us right to there, to those Facebook or Twitter accounts, and we can subscribe and share. One of the things that Edleo has changed recently, and another reason why we want to look at the design was because Edleo is now fully ADA compliant. And I don't know exactly all the ADA requirements for a website. There's like probably 27 pages of it. But I know that one thing that was hard on our old website was what we call drawers. So when I hover over district and that opens up a drawer, if we were to go to like departments before, it would open up another drawer. And on a mobile device, or a large resolution or a small resolution, or even monochrome websites for ADA compliance, that was really hard to navigate. So we changed a lot of these second drawers to landing pages. So when you come to departments now, it's a landing page. I think another one was schools. Under schools was really hard because we had high school, elementary, and on a mobile device, it was hard to find them. So now we've made that into a landing page with all the information for the schools. And then, of course, we can click on any one of our schools to get to that school. And then obviously back to our home page if we want to. So we thought that was a good change, a good addition. Under district, we also created a different landing page for the Board of Education. Instead of going straight to members, we set this up, and it's a different resolution because it is. But we have the board goals, which were on there before, and all this can be changed. If we want to change any of this information as a board, just let me know. We can customize all of this. Some information about the goal setting that we had. And then we can get into the board members. We added Dr. Savage in here for her statement. Agendas and minutes will go to board or to board book, and everything else is pretty much the same. We also changed public participation at the board meetings. Part of ADA compliance is trying to get away from any links that go directly to a PDF, because not everyone can open a PDF from either a mobile device or monochrome. So we're trying to change anything that goes directly to a PDF, including the district calendars, to a landing page, which then has attachments for the PDFs if somebody wants to print them out or get more information. So that's one of the things that we're changing. Everything else is pretty much the same. We did add a search field here. That was recent, so we can search for EdTech, and it's going to search our page for everything that has to do with EdTech directly to our home. And then from the EdTech site, we did add this customer support portal. for teachers and parents, which is really nice. This ties directly to our ticket system. So if we had a lot of tickets coming from families over the remote learning, we still do. So it's nice to be able to just reply to them in an email or ticket from the system or something like Remind. So I can just attach this information for Remind right to our families. They can go right to our portal and then get that information. So this is a really good addition to our team. And I mean, no one knows it, but if you type in the word parent, we've tried to name everything so that if you do a search, it's just going to list everything possible for that particular search. So if you type in Remind or Go Guardian or just the word parent, these are all the resources we have right now. So we're constantly building this database up for customer support. Some of the things that we are working on currently is we still need to get some of our schools, and every school has their own design rights because they have different information that they want to display, which is great. A lot of them get really creative. So for instance, if we go to Logan, they put some more imagery on there, and the website's it looks pretty clean. All the sites look really clean, but things like the staff directory may be a little different for Logan because they use their own sheet that they tie to versus like a Washington or a John Deere. So that's our next step right now, is to kind of go through each of the links for every school and make sure that we have a consistent look and feel throughout the entire site. And in fact, if we go to, I just found this out today. If we go to Butterworth staff directory, I think we're gonna move to the Edleo staff directory because we can just upload a file. And then we can search for every school. But then we also get that district directory where somebody can just type in a name and the information will show up. So I'm just working with them today on this feature, which is new to this particular template. We are also looking at, and Candace is a huge help with this, showing up some of our imagery that we have. We're going to get her a better camera so we can do some better focused images, wider angles, closer angles if we need to. But the imagery on the website, we're looking at changing that, as well as every school, just making sure that we have something that represents that school the best that we can. And then lastly, we are looking at reducing clutter, which just means that if we go to secondary navigation, we might have something down here. If we have it up in district, maybe we can get it out of there to reduce the number of links in that particular door, again, to meet ADA compliance. And to make sure we don't go to 3 columns. We'd love to get to 1 column for everyone, but if we don't, that's fine. It's still navigable on a mobile device. So we're just looking at trying to find out where the repetition is and where we can show that up and just make a consistent message through it. Some things left to do. We have to get our contact information here at the bottom still. I've got to take it into Edleo for that just today. And otherwise, I'm not sure that there's anything else that they missed in the port overs from our old site to our new site. They did a great job in getting everything ready for us in a short amount of time. Any questions about the website? Or?
I'm just really pleased with how it all turned out and the fact that more constituencies within the district than just, one parent or one staff or one advocate, that it works for everyone in some way. That seems a rare thing that things work that way. So
the secondary navigation was really another part of the template that we chose that we just liked a lot. These are the most hit links of our old website. So that's why we chose these options.
thank you so much.
I know even today I checked out the responsiveness because I know always on mobile devices sometimes the index feature and stuff would overlap with the athletics, and then you'd click, in the old site. And so I appreciate the fact that I think that's cleaned up for all the different devices and screen readers. I played around with screen readers a little bit today during a break because I do disability as part of my job at work and stuff. And it seems the bucket stuff, it seems to be working really well in terms of that responsiveness as well. So yeah.
So we are kind of talking to them about a translated site that gets into another avenue and probably a paid avenue, but certainly something that we need to consider.
Did you say translated?
Translated,
okay.
Yeah.
They don't automatically offer that?
So any site can be translated through Google Translate. That's just how effective that is, how correct that is. So we're gonna have to look with Jackie pretty closely probably on that and see if there's a way that we can. Edleo offers what's called an add-on site. So it's almost like a duplicate of the site.
Yeah.
Okay. there might be some cost involved with that. So I'm still exploring that option. Almost every PDF that we post for parents and students, we try to make a translated version.
Thank you.
I have a question real quick.
Oh, Maria has a question.
Maria.
Yes, Maria?
Quick, about the translation, would it just be in the one language, Spanish? Or do you know, or could you find out?
Google Translate can do, I think, like 65 different languages.
I think she means if we do the add-on.
Oh, the add-on, yeah, I think so.
Yeah, Google Translate, I wouldn't really,
Questionable.
Yeah. For real basic Spanish, yeah, but yeah, no. I just was wondering about the add-on, if it was just, would be in Spanish or other languages.
Yeah, I think it's because it's paid. I think we're looking at just Spanish for that.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so next adjournment. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second. Roll call.
Kate Schaefer,
Aye.
Maria Estragero,
Aye.
Andrew Wayers,
Aye.
Audrey Adamson,
Aye.
Justin Anderson,
Aye.
Sangeetha Ramapudi.
So we're not gonna switch places or anything, can we just move straight in or? All right. So I will call the regular meeting of the Board of Education to order at 6:44 p.m. here in Coolidge. I have a roll call, please.
Audrey Adamson,
Here.
Justin Anderson,
Present.
Sangeetha Ramapudi,
Here.
Kate Schaefer, Maria Estragero,
Here.
Andrew Wayers,
Here.
Aaron Waldron Smith.
Pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our first order of business is approval of minutes. First is minutes of the open session of the regular Board of Education meeting of August 24th, 2020. And minutes of the, wait, we need to do those separately. Yeah, so I need a motion, a second, and roll.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Justin Anderson,
Aye.
Kate Schaefer,
Aye.
Maria Estragero,
Aye.
Andrew Wayers,
Aye.
Audrey Adamson,
Aye.
Sangeetha Ramapudi.
Aye. And the second is minutes of the closed session of the regular Board of Education meeting of August 24th, 2020. Motion?
So moved.
Second.
Second from Maria. Roll call, please.
Kate Schaefer,
Aye.
Maria Estragero,
Aye.
Andrew Wayers,
Aye.
Audrey Adamson,
Aye.
Justin Anderson,
Aye.
Sangeetha Ramapudi.
Aye. I believe we have no public comments or communications. So we move to the consent agenda. Actually, we will be doing it in three parts. So the first one is the recommended motion that the Board of Education approve the actions contained in consent agenda items A, C, and E through P as presented. Second.
Second.
And Audrey, roll call, please.
Maria Estragero,
Aye.
Andrew Wayers,
Aye.
Audrey Adamson,
Aye.
Justin Anderson,
Aye.
Kate Schaefer, Sangeetha Ramapudi.
Aye. Second is the recommended motion that the Board of Education approve the actions contained in consent agenda item B as presented. Second.
Second.
Audrey, roll call, please.
Andrew Wayers,
Abstain.
Aaron Waldron, Audrey Adamson,
Aye.
Justin Anderson,
Aye.
Kate Schaefer,
Maria S. Trigueros,
Aye.
Sangeetha Rayapati.
Aye. And finally, it's a recommended motion that the Board of Education approve the actions contained in consent agenda item D as presented. Is there a motion?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Maria. Roll call, please.
Yeah.
Audrey Adamson,
Aye.
Justin Anderson,
Aye.
Kate Schaefer.
Aye.
Maria S. Trigueros,
Aye.
Andrew Ware,
Abstain.
Sangeetha Rayapati.
Okay, we move to our reports and open discussion.
Okay, very good. The first item is an enrollment update. And as of today, we have 7,210 active students enrolled for the 2021 or 2020-2021 school year. Last year in October, we had 7,302 students with a current difference of 92 students. And we still are in the process of reaching out to these families to determine whether they have moved out of our area, whether they have chosen to homeschool and we have not received that notification yet, or if they still are in need of completing the registration process. But overall, we're pretty close to where we normally are for the year. Return to Learn update. We are currently in week 4 of our blended learning plan. I'm very happy about that to have made it to this point. We still have approximately 70% of families sending their students to school on their identified days. And now that we have a few weeks under our belts and we've really established some good habits and routines around all of the health and safety guidelines, we're naturally starting to shift back and center our focus around teaching and learning. And we know that kids across the district are working on different plans and having different experiences. We're pleased with the improvements that we've been able to make based on parent feedback from last spring, but we're still not experts and we're still not perfect. So we're continuing to get parent input, working with principals and working with teachers to determine where can we adjust and how can we adjust so that more students can find success. We know that these school days are deemed regular instructional days by the State Department of Ed, regardless of what type of learning plan each district is choosing. So that means we are back to traditional grades, traditional attendance tracking, and traditional academic requirements. That being said, remote learning is not as easy. And from an instructional standpoint, instructing students on different learning plans is also no easy task either. Now, our staff has done an amazing job putting together academic programs that can be transitional to in-person, to virtual, as you saw from the example in our previous presentation. But we still know that we've got some more adjusting to do. We are beginning to gather some feedback regarding academic workload. We heard a lot about this. It was a predominant theme in our community conversation that we had the chance to have last week. And we're looking at what does the State Department of Ed's 5-hour mandate of instructional engagement mean, and how does that, moreover, how does it translate to different age kids? I know Mr. Anderson and I were having this conversation and it came up a lot at the community conversation as well. So certainly be interested in gathering more feedback. I know one of our schools has sent out a parent survey, and I believe the other principals worked on devising their surveys at the end of last week. So we're looking forward to being able to get more data so that we can use that information to inform our decisions and how we adjust our learning moving forward. Some parents are reporting that there's too much work for the younger students, or the younger students are not able to navigate all the tasks independently. And, you know, that makes sense, right? They're younger learners and they need that, that adult support. And we know kids at home that are on full-time remote learning plans are on those plans for a variety of different reasons. Some students are navigating different caregivers during the day. We've got parents working. We've got awesome grandparents stepping in to help out. So we know that there are a lot of different barriers still out there for our families. And, you know, just because we're back in school doesn't mean our community is out of the woods and that all of our families, you know, have everything that they need to be successful. So we're working on how does that translate? What Dr. Ayala, our state superintendent, was clear about the 5 hours of learning engagement, but what does that mean and what does that mean for a kindergartner versus a sophomore in high school? So those are the pieces that we're working on, and I'm very much looking forward to collecting more data and hearing from more parents so that we know how to adjust. We also know that our middle school and our high school students have their schedules looking different this year. They're operating on a quasi-block schedule with their classes divided up between the 2 quarters. So our middle school and our high school students are only taking 3 to 4 classes, some of which might be an elective, some of which might be a core class. So our different students in the secondary level, their day is certainly looking different, whereas our elementary students are navigating all of the content every day or attempting to do so. And I think our teachers, as they put this pressure on themselves to do such an awesome job, we have quite the high caliber instructional staff. I think they're even realizing now that sustaining it to the level that they are comfortable with and the level that they hold themselves to is a challenge with kids in different multiple learning platforms. So they will have an opportunity this coming Friday when we have a professional learning day to get together with their teams and with their buildings and figure out how to adjust so that more families are finding success and our teachers are able to remain sane, I guess I'll say, but they're doing an awesome job. They want to do the best that they can for everybody, but the environment itself certainly lends itself to lots of different challenges there. So we're open to feedback as far as those things go. And lastly, with our return to learn plans, we know that before we even started the school year that we would have positive cases of COVID pop up in our district, but we had a plan and we're working that plan. I've always been open about needing to adjust and watching and paying attention and being open to changes. So we're watching and tracking very closely. We have also made sure that our plans are in lockstep with IDPH and CDC guidelines, and we are adhering very strictly to those guidelines in terms of how we respond when a positive case does pop up. I'm grateful for Kim Nelson, our head nurse, who has received the contact tracing training and certification, and having her as a consultant and as the key driver of that process has ensured that we have a direct line of communication with the county health department, that it's being done properly, that she's using her professional medical lens to ensure that we're making the right decision. So we are just so grateful for the resource and support that she's provided us in this very unique year. And lastly to that, we've chosen a transparent approach to communicating our data. We've got, as Mr. Reed was identifying, the changes in the website under the Return to Learn plan. You will see a new tab for COVID positive cases. And so we want to make sure that that information is available to our families so that they can be sure that, you know, we're being open and honest about our cases. And we are also separating which cases were in the last 14 days. So folks can watch that number. Our intent is to update that probably once a week by Friday, but it's current right now. We are seeing a few cases pop up here and there, but we are absolutely navigating the process, and Kim is doing an awesome job there. And lastly, I have one more topic that I wanted to bring up and make sure everybody is aware, and that is regarding the health requirements that are in Illinois school code. We know that there are requirements for students for physicals as well as immunizations. And so I wanted to make sure that the board knows and that our families and our community knows that we have not received any waivers for these health requirements, and we do not anticipate to receive any sort of waivers. So that means the traditional date of October 15th still stands for families of kids that are attending school on their days, as well as families that are at home in blended learning. they still will have to provide verification that they have met the requirements of the law for physicals and immunizations. We are in the process, I know the school nurses are working on those letters and getting those letters out and communicating with families. But because this is a unique year, I just want to make sure we're doing our part to get our word out to families. Been working with the ROE to see if we can host a couple of clinics to provide resources to our families so that they can become in compliance. But again, whether a student is attending in person or full-time remote learning at home, they still need to be able to show that verification by October 15th. And you might think, what would that look like? If a student is not coming to school, they're not posing a risk to the school environment. And I'm translating the nature of the law to indicate that they still pose a risk to community spread. And we also know that folks that have underlying health conditions are at a greater risk for contracting the virus and so on and so forth. So we are going to be getting the word out, but we still have quite a few students, over 1,000 students that do not currently have the verifications that they need. And so that is, I am told normal, and Ms. Sanders can verify. I'm told that that is normal for this time of year. And so many families typically in the last month before the exclusion date will find access to those appointments. We just know that they're more challenging right now in this era of COVID. So I will be sending out a parent update this week. We're going to do our best to communicate this out. As I mentioned, the school nurses and Ms. Sanders and our head nurse, Kim Nelson, are working on those letters, getting those letters out to families. And I'm certainly hoping Kim Nelson is going to be working with School Health Link on this Friday to, again, try to coordinate us being able to host a clinic for families. So I know it's strange. It's not necessarily what I think is great, but it is the law. And I certainly have no authority to circumvent that code. So our job is to communicate that out and try to break down those barriers and make sure that families have access to get these things taken care of. But unfortunately, you know, excluding a child on October 15th that's full remote is going to look like maybe them not being able to access their Moline Schools account, which again, it does not make me happy necessarily. So I wanted to make sure the board was aware. We continue to work with the ROE to find what other resources we could possibly have and seeking any possible waivers that may come, but I have just not heard that that is going to happen. And so we want to do our best to get our families into compliance. And I wanted to start by making sure that I was informing the Board of Education tonight as we work on our family communication process. Ms. Sanders, anything that you would add to that?
Well, we're hoping to set up multiple clinics over a series of multiple days in different areas of town. So we're going to work on that plan this Friday with Helpline here in the Coolidge PD room with the nurses and start also blasting our Twitter and our Facebook pages and making sure families understand that the requirements extend to remote learners as well, not just in-person learners, unfortunately. So.
We'll keep you posted. That's all I have.
Thank you so much. Okay, under our discussion,
So you have a couple
your
questions.
questions,
Yeah,
yes.
sorry. In regards to other health things for our students, is flu shots at all still happening in the schools coming up this fall as they've typically happened? And then also like the dental bus that many of our students rely upon. I didn't know about the access that students would be having
I
to
know
those.
we were coordinating for staff. Can you share anything?
You know, I don't have an update yet from Kim, but I can
Okay.
check on that. Usually we do the flu shots in the fall.
Yeah.
But we also do the dental bus, I think, comes around maybe in the spring.
I'm trying to remember when it is typically there.
I can check on that.
Okay, I was just curious about
I know
those
she was
resources.
coordinating, the flu shot service for staff.
Okay. And then for the positive case transparency, is there a point at which on the website now it just says cases for the district? But I know I had a couple of parents ask me and just wondering about at some point, does that become a breakdown by building? So parents are making decisions, even if they weren't involved in any contact tracing, and if parents, out of an abundance of caution, wanting to know if there's things happening in the building in which their child is in, didn't know what our plan was for that, eventually depending on number of cases.
I mean, certainly we can take, I will be happy to take direction and guidance from the Board of Education at this point. What we have seen and what we've seen other districts do is to keep the data private in terms of not breaking it out by staff or student or building. But we have taken the charge of notifying those that were involved with any positive case. So that's the process that we've started, but I'm certainly always open to guidance.
What we've talked about with that particular question was maybe sharing with the public that no news is good news.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not hearing about it, you are okay. And that helps protect the health, like HIPAA, privacy things, and I know there was some professional standards for recording that kind of stuff that our PR director was following as well. So to respect that, that no news is good news is a good mantra to remember.
Yeah, so the contact tracing process is working, and we, again, Kim Nilsson, Total Rockstar, is reaching out to those staff or those students or those families that are directly impacted, drilling down to getting a class list and going from there. So it's quite a thorough process that I've observed. But again, this is fluid and changing, and if, our landscape changes, I'm certainly open to any changes or guidance.
Thank you.
I did have a question too. Have you had any students that chose to be in person switch to remote?
Maybe a few. I don't have that number. I can get that number.
We've had a few that have, some who maybe started the year on a quarantine because something happened even before the school year started. And so they just decided to go remote at that point. But we really haven't had anybody flip since like the first week of school. Some people accidentally chose remote and they intended for in-person, or because they were in a quarantine situation and just decided to stay remote through the first quarter. But at this point, we're not having any flipping unless it's somebody who is going to be out for an extended period of quarantine just because they have a symptom or a family member has a situation, and so they're choosing to go full remote, but not that many.
We have had quite a few questions of parents wanting to send their child for one reason or the other. Either they see that, the health and safety protocols are working and the process is intact, or also that remote learning poses its own challenges. And some students are very successful on that learning platform, as we saw, and others require that face-to-face interaction.
Kim Nelson has something she wanted.
Okay.
Kim, if you're there.
I am. I just wanted to jump in and address the flu shots for kiddos, and we are working with the Genesis program that we've worked with in the past to organize those as well. Just uncertain whether it'll be building by building or a mass clinic setting, maybe at Wharton. Still working the details out of that, but fully intend to try to host something like we have in the past.
Thank you.
Thank you. Great. Oh, yes.
I got a couple things for open discussion. We skipped the section. So I'm not sure where you're going next.
Oh, it's fine.
And then also clarification, possible. There's some questions going back to the workload and that. And yes, I've observed conversations online, social media, feedback is a lost count. Secondary students, junior high school, they're getting done with our advertised 5-hour workload that we said our plan prepared that it'd be 5 hours of learning every day. They're getting done in under 2 hours, more than at least a third of the students. And elementary little ones, they have a 5-hour timer on their computers, on their Chromebooks. They have to be active on that Chromebook in front of a screen for 5 hours to get credit. If they finish their courses, there's other things they can choose to be interactive and do. But you have so many households that have high schoolers or junior hires that are done in 90 minutes to 2 hours every single day. And they're kindergarten and fifth graders sitting there for 5 hours watching their older siblings have a lot of fun and play, and run around and play video games and waste time. A couple of questions on that. I'm glad we're finding out what the 5-hour requirement is. Because if we're supposed to be offering and having 5 hours of instruction for it to count as an educational day, and all these students are done in 2 hours or so, does that day count?
One point of clarification.
Okay.
I know it's not 5 hours of direct instruction.
Fair.
It's 5 hours of engagement. So it's supposed to include reading, working on assignments, maybe watching a video, all of that. But you do pose a really good point with kids working at different paces. Kids are getting done at all different times.
And we talked wanting to promote equity across the board big time. This is a humongous area we're like.
I think that might be the wrong choice of words.
From what I'm seeing, well, if we have.
Because every kid is different, so they're going to finish their assignments at different times. But I think your point in terms of, we have to make sure we're providing what we're saying we're providing.
And the way that families are taught, we're not. And so there's, to me, a glaring lack of equity in that area. So yes, as soon as we can, get an answer and get that out, please. Would be wonderful. And then quick clarification, we are nearly halfway done with the quarter, right?
Well,
It's coming.
We have, the quarter ends October 15th, I believe, 16th.
So we're quickly approaching midway point. For parents with students of block scheduling, that means we're midway to semester grades. I think we should be reminding them that, and that's what I want to take a quick moment to do for anybody listening. Wherever your students are with their current workload, grades, missing assignments, doing well, whatever the case may be, they're halfway to that semester grade, and that's what locks in. So for the 3 classes they have right now, 4 classes they'll have coming up when that transition happens, that semester grade is going to come really quick, and we're not used to seeing it till winter break time.
Right.
Thanks for that reminder.
That's actually a really good
So
point.
that can startle you. If your student needs to do a little backup work, or they're struggling somewhere that's easily able to overcome with some help, we can't put it off forever with those students.
I'm glad that you brought that up. I think while most students are engaged and our parents are doing an awesome job stepping up and supporting their students, we do have pockets of kids here and there that are signed up for full remote, but not necessarily engaging. And so I was actually working on a parent update and scripting that very thing. So I'm glad you brought that up, Mr. Anderson, that we need to be reminding our students that these are instructional days. There are no incompletes that I've been told are going to be available. So we're risking all sorts of things by not engaging. We're risking failure, we're risking retention. Our seniors may be risking graduation. So you do pose a really good point that all students need to be engaged, and we want to encourage our parents to be checking in with their kids. So that's a really good point. Thank you.
That's all I had.
Okay, well, yeah, and to follow up, thanks for including your thoughts on that. I think there are some cases, I said this in a community conversation, where that the way that you described the hours being used up is completely opposite from what I've witnessed, which is a high schooler who's working constantly on homework. That they're, and that's to your point about what needs to be at what level for each level of our learners. So I'm glad we're in the information seeking mode. I agree that no other decisions can really be made and have the data to support it all. So I know I got a survey from a principal today, so I'm sure they'll be coming out soon, sharing with everybody, but that'll really help everybody. Thank you. Anything else under superintendent's report for any questions, open discussion there? All right, so we move to the Board of Ed discussion. Just a follow-up, that was
covered pretty well in the newspaper. If board members read that, the kinds of questions that were brought up, to the points about, you know, what kind of metrics do we need to see to send kids back into more face-to-face learning? What would it take for us to be fully remote for the whole district? That question, I know I started conversation with Dr. Savage after her update to us last week. So I encourage you all to have that conversation with your thoughts on that. There's a couple kernels of ideas that we're working through. But I stated in the community conversation that I fully believe that part of the reason we have some very low positivity rate is because of the kind of format that we have, which limits to the face-to-face, although that's not what we really want for our students for learning in the long run. But to get us to a point where we can consistently be in school, I think that's been helpful personally. So I think we have more to do with discussing with Dr. Savage your thoughts on those metrics, and she'll share those, I think, probably in our next newsletter. Yeah, thank you for allowing me to think aloud in the weekly update and just process ideas. Because there is no one standard. And I know you had even asked the question, is it in there in the guidance? And the guidance is very generic. Respond to your region, coordinate with your county department of health, you know, listen to your stakeholders, work with your boards of education. So we often ask for local control, and now it appears we've gotten it. So, but it's an important decision. And so I'm hearing a variety of different metrics, and I know at the state board, they're hearing from regions asking these same questions. So I will continue to just throw ideas out there because I would rather be having those conversations now than when we feel we have to make a decision, and now what decision should we make. So please continue to provide that information, as I will do for you all. But I think it's an important conversation that I'm glad we're initiating.
And then I know I sent 2 emails recently, one with just the order we had gone in for the community conversation series we started last year. And I think that's helpful to keep that going. We did have one request for a Spanish language one, and coordinating that with Maria, who speaks Spanish fluently as you. And it looks like that one will be September 23rd. So we'll get those details out. But that just throws off that order a little bit. But my intent is to come back to you very soon with a list of dates. Like, are you available for this one, that one? And if you have theme ideas, you know, now that, I mean, it sounds like a party. but really, I mean, we have all kinds of stakeholders, and I, you know, with lots of different perspectives, and I think it's been good to have them be generalized, open topic conversations. But if you have one like this one is Spanish language, that was a request. I think we should be open to that. So we'll come back to that. Those dates will be specifically on. Secondly, also the other email was just the rules for online, and in my email, and there's a significant word. And basically, the rules for us continuing to have members call in online, they cease when October starts, unless we get that extended. So we can only be calling in if you have a personal illness or disability, employment purposes, or the business of public body, or a family or other emergency. So I just wanted to reiterate that tonight. And finally, from the info I have, some of you may be getting questions from the community about some of the traditional activities we've had during the school year in the fall, homecoming and things like that. We asked about that at our agenda meeting, and I think that the high school principal will be providing clarification in her next update, which was pretty soon. I think maybe this week, I think, right? But certainly, you know, health indicators haven't changed a whole lot, so we'll look forward to hearing what she has to say. And last for me is just, we have to stay to sign a specific document for Stephanie. But does anyone else have anything?
Is that the order? No? All right, thank you, everyone. I need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
No? Fine. Roll call for.
We have somebody.
Oh, yes,
Roll call.
thank you.
There's
The
somebody
roll
to roll.
call online. So roll call, please. Patrick Adamson.
Aye.
Justin Anderson.
Aye.
Kate Schaefer. Aye. Maria Estragaros.
She said aye, but she said muted.
Thank you. Andrew Ware.
Aye.
Thank you, the Ryan Putty.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
23rd.
Bye, Maria.
I did not know that.
Bye, guys.